my name's Esta and welcome back to the Female Magik Podcast, where we are in a safe space to speak to wonderful women about anything from mental health to the glow up and everything in between. Today I am with Lauren Sher, who is a life coach for women of colour with over a decade of experience as a teacher and mentor. Having helped over 1,000 females from all backgrounds to achieve their goals, she is passionate about seeing others succeed with confidence. How are you today?
I'm fine, thank you, and thanks for having me.
Of course. You are, I think, our first person from Bradford, which I am really happy about. First of all, what do you think about, I guess, the current situation right now? Because we're really lucky to have done this just in the nick of time in regards to like the new lockdown rules.
Yeah, I'm really grateful that obviously you've had me today and we've still been able to go ahead with it. There's been a lot of changes over the past year, and then we've now got the recent rules that will start on Thursday.
Yeah.
So there's lots of things that I think might have to change, lots of adjustments, but I'm really glad we've still managed to do this today and have a chat.
We're here. So let's start with, this is a question that I actually ask everyone who comes on, and that is, what is your cultural background?
So my background, I am mixed race, half English and half Jamaican.
Nice.
Yeah.
And what was your childhood like?
I had a good childhood. I grew up in Bradford, so I lived with my mum, and I did see both sides of my family a lot, so around family. Yeah, I did lots of sport, lots of performing arts, lots of activities. Yeah, I really enjoyed school, to be honest, and still keep in touch with some of my teachers today. So
oh, that's cute.
Yeah, like some of them. So yeah, it was good.
What was it like being a mixed race person in Bradford growing up, when you was growing up?
Bradford, it is quite a multicultural place, lots of different cultures there. But in my particular school where I went to a Catholic school, and the area that I went to, there wasn't many children from the BAME communities in my school, probably 2 or 3, to be honest, in my whole primary school. I think I did feel really included in school and in my community where I lived. But looking back now, like I didn't think I noticed the difference so much, and the lack of diversity in my school and community. It was just the particular area that I grew up in. But I never saw it as a problem. I think when I got to high school, I did notice there was more of a mix there. But yeah, it was always noticeable.
Yeah, fair enough. So now let's fast forward a little bit, and you are a life coach, but you're also a teacher. How did you discover your passion?
So I did a little bit of performing arts when I was younger, and then teaching came from that, like it was my passion. And I taught a whole mix of ages, dance, drama, physical, exercise, fitness, so a whole range of things. And then I continued that over the past 10 years, which I loved, in different areas as well, and children of different backgrounds. So yeah, that's been fun.
So what made you want to become a life coach? And can you explain a little bit before that actually, what the difference is between a life coach and a counsellor? Because I think for a lot of people, including myself, I don't actually know the difference and what the benefits, how the benefits like weigh.
Yeah, of course. And I think a lot of people have said that to me. They don't really know what a life coach is. And so basically I think the difference between a counsellor and a life coach is a counsellor will work with the person's mental health, their thoughts, feelings, emotions. A life coach, I would say, the way that I run my programs is you look at all of those things, but more the practical aspects as well. So the planning, the organisation, so more the physical and practical elements of helping that person, and not just their mindset and mental health.
Fair enough. And what made you want to become a life coach?
I think over the years working with females of all ages, doing the teaching and the mentoring, I've loved it, but it's been with a lot of group work and live events. So I think with the coaching, it's more rewarding because I can work one-to-one with the women. So I can really get to know them a little bit more, build up that trust, and it's not just in a group situation. So I think that's kind of where I progressed into wanting to do that.
And over the years, what specialised techniques do you enjoy using with your with the people who you work with?
A lot of the women that I currently work with want help with their mindset and mental health, especially with what's happening at the minute and things being really uncertain. So a lot of the techniques that I love to use and I know have been helpful for me is a lot of meditation techniques. So mindfulness, meditation, just to have that time out. I don't think people are always aware of the thoughts, and everyone's busy. You do what you need to do through the day, but you're not really noticing your thoughts and what's going on in your head.
Yeah.
Whether you are putting things off, your mood might be low, you might feel anxious, but you're not really noticing it.
I agree. I think something that I do a lot, or have started to do since lockdown, is watch a lot of TV. And I catch myself a lot because then I think, wow, I'm not really doing anything with my life, and I'm also not like focusing on what really needs to be done. And it can also, I guess for me personally, it's caused me to be miserable because I'm just like, I feel like a couch potato. And ironically, at the beginning of lockdown, I was meditating, I was doing breathing exercises, and this was every single day. And then as the days go on, it's like less and less and less. Do you feel like a lot of people struggle to keep a routine during lockdown?
I can totally relate to what you said, because at the start of lockdown I was the same. It was a new thing we was all going through. Nobody was used to it. We've not been through it before, so you kind of, and then with work as well, people had a lot more time off work, so it's watch TV, which is fine. I think you don't have to, people don't have to feel guilt for things like that, like watching TV for a day, having some time off. But then you know that mentally there is more productive things that can lift your spirits, like the meditation. But it is hard to keep it going, like you said. So having a life coach there is somebody who you can just work with, and somebody who can hold you accountable in the right way, and it's little reminders. So just to say, have you done your meditation today, or your mindfulness journaling, and are you writing those thoughts down? Just helps you keep consistent with it.
Definitely. See, I love to journal. I journal like...
Oh, amazing.
I don't know how, I journal whenever I feel I need to. I don't like to make it a thing, because then I feel like I'd be feeling guilty if I didn't. But it's definitely, on a good week, 3 to 4 times a week. Good. I love writing my goals and stuff, and I really try and encourage other people to do it, but I struggle to explain the benefits. I think I do it just because I love writing as well, and I love keeping on track with what I'm actually doing, because it's crazy when you look back maybe like a few months ago and you'd see the goals that you wanted to do and you might have actually achieved them. How would you explain to people who've never journaled before the benefits of journaling?
So I would say with journaling, it's something that we all do. More so when we're younger. I think at school you're constantly writing things down, diaries, notebooks, everything's written down, to-do lists. And then I think once you get older, I think people just get so busy with work and you don't write your feelings down. And it does help you keep a track of it. So journaling, it's a personal thing, but I would recommend just to try, like you say, a few times a week, and just notice and write things down how you're feeling, to notice a pattern. And it can also help you know if there's any triggers. So sometimes on one day you might feel your mood is low or a bit anxious, and it might be because you've not slept. It could be diet, you've not exercised, you've not been outside for some fresh air. So it helps you look back then and think, so what is the patterns in my mindset, basically. And with goals, it's amazing.
Do you think people should only do it as in like physical writing, or do you think it's okay for people to do it on the phone? Because I feel like one of my best friends, she writes everything on her phone, and that's like her go-to. But do you think it matters if you do it on your phone, seeing as we live in such a technological world?
Sorry, that's so good with the journaling, by the way. Because I think with the journaling that you do it so much, I think some people don't even...
I just think I've just been obsessed with writing because I don't like to share my feelings with other people. In person. I'm a Cancer, and Cancers are like really closed books. My journals, I'd hate for someone to look through my journals, but anyway.
That's what it's for though, just to get everything down on paper.
Exactly, I cuss so many people in my journals. And
that's so much better to get it down on paper when you're feeling in a mood one day or annoyed about something, rather than it all coming out to like your friends and family.
Yeah, exactly.
And it's not their fault, but they're the people who get
get
the worst.
So what do you think about journaling on your phone, is it okay, or would you say it's like a no-no?
I would say journaling on the phone is completely fine. For me personally, I prefer to write it down with a pen and paper.
Yeah.
But the way things are at the minute in the world, everyone's always on the phones, on the computers, so I think it's completely fine. But for me personally, I like to write it down on paper.
Okay. Let's talk a little bit about self-sabotage. Can you give us a brief description, firstly, like what it is?
So with self-sabotage, in many different forms, a lot of it is people can't talk.
It's such a difficult word, that one. I mean, I'm not going to try and
Basically putting things off.
Yeah.
Putting things off and having to-do lists, and you're just never getting around to it, and you know that it's something you really want to do, you've got a deadline for it, but you'll give yourself a reason not to do it. So that's one thing. Another thing is imposter syndrome. So obviously feeling like you're not quite good enough to do something, when if someone else was there just to give you that bit of motivation, you'd be completely fine. And people believe in themselves a bit more then, when really they know their own skills, they know the experience they've got, but for whatever reason, that can be nerves, anxiety. That's another thing.
So how do we overcome that?
So with the self-sabotage, the journaling again is really important. Because say if you've got an event coming up, interview, a really important day at work, just to note it down and see how you're feeling before that event. And the self-sabotage, you can make it into a worse situation than it even is. And you can sit overthinking as well is another bad one, because you go from a small problem or issue and it becomes a whole other thing then. So that I always think just to even pick up the phone and speak to a friend or a family member, because they will, if somebody you trust or you're close with, they'll just usually put it into perspective. When if not, you just let things spiral out of control in your own mind.
I definitely used to do that, but I think it's important to be able to catch yourself when you're thinking like that. It's hard though. Like I feel like sometimes when I speak, it sounds like it's just one day you wake up and then you do it. But for me personally, I think it's taken me like, how old's my son? 6 years to get where I am now, because it's such a long journey. But anyway, what do you think about manifesting?
I think with manifesting, I know for me there's been things in the past that said dreams and goals, people have vision boards, and there is things, vision boards just so you can physically see it, and there is things years down the line that have come true and that have happened, so you know, it's amazing, and I do think it's helpful because it's like another reminder. Things you lose sight of, you just kind of go with life sometimes, but with having someone there to kind of remind you, or doing it yourself, or having a vision board, it's keeping in check of those dreams and goals, because otherwise time does tick away. And with the manifesting, you're putting it out there, speaking about it, writing it down, having a vision board. So yeah, just so you can keep sight of your goals.
Do you feel like when you speak to your clients, well, firstly, do you tell them about manifesting or not so much?
I think I find it half and half. Some people do use like the manifesting technique, or they believe in it, and a lot of people, they just want more practical solutions.
But do you think practical is always the way, or do you feel like those types of people are the people who want like the quick fix and will never really get the fix that they want? I agree with that, and it isn't always practical, because I believe with my coaching it starts with the mindset. Before you can organise your life, put things into place, have goals set down, it is a mindset, because if not, you can have like the self-sabotage, the anxiety can creep in. So when you do work on that, then all the practical things can fall into place. Definitely. Have you ever been afraid of failure?
I think everyone at some point in life can be afraid of failure, but the older that I've got and the more experience and different work that I have done, that kind of takes more of a back seat, I think, because I think your path just naturally goes the way it's meant to go as well. You meet who you meet, you do your work, what you do, and you find if you really tune into your passions and what you want to do, your path will become clear.
Again, easier said than done, but how would you, what can I say? How do you explain that to someone who is like terrified all the time? What would be the advice that you'd give them?
Terrified of failing? I think a lot of the so I do some career coaching with women just to get really clear so they can sit down and write their skills down, just because sometimes, again, just to know what you've done, to recap if you've forgotten. And some of the women are scared of failing at interviews. I don't know whether it might be a presentation they have to do in front of people. But I think doing the mindfulness and the meditation techniques, if you do feel in a more calm mindset, you'll just kind of know it is where it is. But if you're just thinking about all the practical things, what you're presenting, what you're doing, things can go wrong, but it is where it is. Take your time with things will work out.
What's one of the hardest things you've had to go through while being a life coach?
I think whilst being a life coach, it's difficult to, obviously from personal experiences, things I know that I've been through, and any anxiety that I have experienced in the past, it's difficult because they're it's noticing little triggers, but I know they're things I've tried to overcome and implement those practices into my daily routines. And difficult because everyone is different as well. Every single person, people you work with, say, everyone's totally different. So it's spending a bit of time to get to know the person first, to find out what their true goals are and what they want out of it at the end.
And for people who would want to be a life coach, what advice would you give them?
I would give the advice for people who want to go into life coaching to be authentic to themselves, because I don't think it's not done in one set way. People concentrate on lots of different areas. Everyone has different personalities. So how you teach and how you communicate and help and work with someone is different to how some people might be they just take different approaches. So I would say don't try be a person that you're not. If it's a soft, gentle approach, that's fine. Some life coaches may be really harsh, straight to the point, but that might get the job done. I don't work like that really. But that for someone else, they might prefer that.
Do you ever get backlash for doing that?
I've had some like mock practice interviews, like media training, and I've been asked that question, and people said, "Oh, that's a bit racist," you know.
Really?
Just to say, someone said that to me just because they said it's good to practice in case someone ever asks you that. And be on the spot. They weren't being serious, but they said in case someone asks you that and says, "Oh, is that not a bit racist?" But my answer kind of was that over the years I've worked with all different backgrounds, and I think just to narrow it down to have that relatability a bit more. But I think that's the thing is this isn't recording, is it?
Yeah.
Oh, it is?
Yeah.
That's fine. You can, to have that relatability with working with women that are similar to me, and a lot of the topic that's going on at the minute, a lot of the race topics and things that are happening in the world. So I found it's helped to narrow down the group of women that I am working with.
And was that a difficult decision to make, considering that half of your family is white?
Yeah, but like I said, I think because over the years, I've never specifically wanted to work with one type of group. It has been a complete mixture, which I've loved, getting to know people from different backgrounds in my community and beyond. But at the minute, just focusing and narrowing that down a little bit more and hoping that it maybe does build up that trust a bit. If even younger women or older see more of a similarity.
Is there a real difference between the problems that the BAME community go through in comparison to more like European women?
I think it sometimes can depend on area, because I know from me growing up, like we touched on that earlier about it not being really diverse in the schools that I went to, primary and high schools. But I think in the area sometimes you can feel there's no opportunities, but if you are looking in the right places and reaching out to people, they are there. So I have had people say that, you know, in certain areas there don't seem to be opportunities and things for them. But again, it's knowing who to go to, where to look for those opportunities and how to go about it.
And what have you noticed psychologically with the women that you've worked with within the BAME community? Would you say there is like a common issue, as in mentally, that goes on with them, or not really?
Yeah, there is a lot of the research I've done and the women I've worked with, there is a higher risk of women of colour suffering from mental illness, and also less of a chance, less they are less likely to approach therapists and counsellors for help, as they might want someone who is also of colour to work with.
I think that's an important point actually, because as well as that, also a lot of black people have been arrested and put in mental institutes straight away before they've even spoken to someone, just because they have highlighted or shown their erratic behaviour. I don't know if that also puts people off, but yeah, what's your take on that?
Yeah, I do think I think it is getting better, but there needs to be maybe a wider community of counsellors, therapists, coaches of different races and different backgrounds, so people do feel that they can approach those organisations for help more. So, and like you said, sorry, about was you asking if that relates to, I know you said with people being arrested and things like that. Yeah, I'm not sure about the men, but a lot of the women that I work with, there is a higher chance of them suffering from mental illness, and yeah.
Would you say the coaching business, would you say it's hugely white, as in like the people who do it?
Definitely, yeah. So from a lot of the coaches, like I say, all the coaches are completely different. They all work in a different way, but they are, well, the majority of coaches that are around are white. And so hopefully, choosing to work with this specific group of women, that, like I say, I can just build up that trust a little bit more, and they can feel like they can relate to me as well.
I think so. I definitely agree, because I think if I wanted to go to a life coach, I'd probably go to someone of colour as opposed to someone who's not, because like you said, it's that relatability and feeling a lot more comfortable, because trying to speak to someone who hasn't really had any similar sort of upbringing, I don't know if they'd feel like they could even connect with the client.
And it's knowing that person's had the similar background of even just identity of growing up with both sides of their family, whatever area it is that they're growing up. But it's just knowing that someone else has had that experience, whether it's positive, negative, whatever it is. It's just knowing they've been through the same thing, if that makes sense.
Yeah. So let's talk about the sessions, and how do you advise people on what type of session they should do?
I would say if it's something that they're struggling with or a goal that they have and they just can't seem, a lot of people are really busy, they don't have the time. So having someone there just to plan everything, a lot of people are capable of their mindset goals, their fitness goals, but they just don't have the time. They might have a family, they might have a really busy work schedule, so you don't always have time to put those career goals into place. You don't have time to network all evening, you don't have time to reach out, send emails, so it's having someone there to do it for you, basically.
Oh, yeah, what a life coach does.
So it's having, so like I said, they all work differently, but with some of the women that I do work with, they will say to me, oh, Lauren, I'm really busy with my current job, but I'd love to do this qualification. Can you look into it for me? So if I was working with them, that'd be something that I can present them with. I've done this research for you, and then that's the goal that's ticked off for them then, that they just couldn't fit in.
Would you argue though that could make people lazier? Or would that be up to you to decide if they're just being lazy or if they genuinely don't have the time?
Yeah, I think it's a personal thing. Like someone could give you a list of that'd be more like someone being an assistant, a personal assistant, which would be great to have someone to do everything for you. But some people I think who genuinely say, you know, this is my passion. I've been wanting to try this since I was young, but I'm a bit nervous about it and I just don't have the time to do it. So just doing a little bit of research and information for them, then it's kind of up to them then what they do with it. But some people are so busy, like the schedules, you don't have time to pursue other goals and dreams that you might want to do.
So how do you do the group sessions now then? Is that just like over Zoom and stuff?
Yeah, at the minute I've done some group sessions, some online guided meditations, which have been good, and organised some events where people have taught yoga. I've led a meditation, which is great just to refocus and get rid of any clutter that's going on in the mind. So they're amazing, just to keep practicing those as well. So that's what we're doing. Everything's online at the minute, most of it.
So what are your plans for the new year, considering everything goes back to some form of normality?
Yeah, I have at the minute, so I'm continuing. I do some face-to-face sessions At the minute, that's still allowed to go ahead.
Oh, lovely.
Not many, a lot of it is online. But in the new year, I'm working on a bit of a plan and a programme which is based around fitness and meal plans. So that's more of a practical fitness coaching programme. But a lot of people, I think, in the new year, hopefully will want that, just to get off on a good start. And the plan is to reach out. I don't like to work with too many people, just so I can build up the relationship with the women and not work with too many people at one time. But to launch those new programmes, and hopefully it'll help a lot of people.
I'm sure it will.
Yeah, and then the career programmes that I've got going at the minute, just a lot of people I know have had to change jobs, look for a completely new career, which I think is quite, if you've done the same job for years and years, then suddenly you have to change that.
Yeah.
Just getting those skills and expertise that you have down on paper, so you know what to bring, to another employer.
And what advice, I guess I'm asking for a little sprinkle of what's to come, but what advice would you give to women who are in that situation right now, who might have to completely change their career path?
Yeah, I would see it as a positive thing. I think a lot of people I've spoken to said, my job, things can't go ahead, I'm having to find another work. But I would say, sit down, write down the skills, the experience that you've had, go way back over the 10 years, and don't forget about the experiences and things you've overcome and things you have done, and get all that down on paper, so you know when it comes to looking for a new job, you can sell yourself a bit more then, and you know what skills you have built up and worked hard for.
That's really good. Thank you so much for being on the Female Magik Podcast. I'm looking forward to seeing a lot more work that you are doing, and thank you guys for watching another episode. Bye.
Bye.